Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and welcome back to Engines of the Pere Marquette. To start off the steam switchers sub-saga, I will be discussing the Railway's 060 switchers. This is the first of two episodes in this final sub-saga for steam locomotives in this series, and also the shortest episode since there's not much info on these locomotives. Locomotives designed for switching and sorting out passenger and freight cars, known as switchers, were relatively late development on American railroads. In the late 19th century, most American railroads opted to relegate aging and outclassed locomotives to switching work instead of buying newer switcher locomotives. But as the infrastructure became more sophisticated, the need for proper switchers became more desperate. Unlike older road engines like 440s, for example, switcher locomotives were better suited to the job since it didn't need speed out of a locomotive, just slow, careful, steady movement. It thus means that switcher steam locomotives don't need leading wheels to prevent derailments on curves, and trailing wheels were also not needed since the fireboxes were small enough for the job and supported by the last driving axle. The result was that more weight could be pressing down on just the driving wheels and thus allow maximum adhesion and tractive effort. The Pere Marquette was no exception to this development, with its predecessors having little need for proper switchers when they had plenty of aging and outclassed locomotives to do it instead. When the railway was formed in 1900, it inherited 20 040s and 16 060s from its predecessors. Most of the 060s have been inherited from the Flint and Pere Marquette and designated as S4s and S7s by the Pere Marquette. While the S4s were built fresh as 060s, the S7s were rebuilt from the F&PM's aging 260 moguls in its 060 rebuilding program, which the Pere Marquette continued until the last one was rebuilt in 1903. Unlike its predecessors, the Pere Marquette did have the need for buying new switcher locomotives, as they only inherited just 36 switchers, all of which were reaching 2 to 3 decades old. The company decided that their next switchers would also be 060s, favoring this type over the older, weaker, and more obsolete 040 type. The Pere Marquette's first new 060s were constructed in Alco's Brooks plant from 1900 to 1904, totaling a number of 19 locomotives numbered 401 to 419 and designated S2. Regarding technical specifications, 060 meant that locomotives of this wheel arrangement, including the S2s, had 6 driving wheels with no leading and trailing wheels. This type is also known as the 6-wheel switcher. With their tenders attached, the original S2s were 54 feet 10 3/4 inches long and weighed 89 tons with a tractive effort of 27,900 pounds. They had 50-inch drivers, 19 by 26-inch cylinders, a grade area of 24.8 square feet, a boiler pressure of 180 psi, Stephenson valve gear with piston valves, and a fuel capacity of 3,000 gallons of water with 7.5 tons of coal. Then in 1905, the Pere Marquette bought 14 tweaked, 111-ton, 55-foot S2s from Alco, with said tweaks in the form of slide valves, larger fireboxes, and 51-inch drivers, the latter of which resulted in a slightly lower tractive effort of 27,606 pounds. They also had larger tenders supplying 8 tons of coal and 4,000 gallons of water. These engines were numbered 456 to 469. The final batch, comprising 15 S2s, was built from 1910 to 1911 and numbered 470 to 484. These engines were 56 feet long, weighed 118 tons total, and had larger 5,000-gallon water tanks and 20 by 26-inch cylinders. This brought the number of production switchers on the Pere Marquette to a total of 48. In addition to the production locomotives, PM also bought 4 second-hand 060s. One from the Helka Portland Cement Company in 1903, and the rest from J.F. Gardner of the Kanawha in Michigan in 1916. The ex-Helka Portland Cement Company engine, originally their number 1, was built by Alco's Pittsburgh shops in 1902 and renumbered to 400 by the Pere Marquette. The engine was a little heavier and more powerful than the first batch of S2s, with a smaller coal load but a larger water tank, smaller firebox, and was 53 feet long. The rest were numbered 497 to 499. 497 was built in 1898 by an unknown builder, and is reported to be originally from the Kanawha in Michigan in some sources, but doesn't fit within K&M data. Her original number is also unknown. 498 and 499 were originally Kanawha in Michigan 560 and 561 respectively. Switching coaches and freight cars was what the Pere Marquette used their 060s for, in yards across the entire Pere Marquette system. But beginning in 1918, the railway began buying larger 080 switchers that began to displace their 060s, as the 080s although more rigid, were more powerful than the 060s. The route availability of the 080s was also pretty much the same, so it was evident who the winner was. As the 080s took over, and time periods like the Great Depression and World War II came and went, the Pere Marquette sold off 12 of their 060s to other railroads and businesses from 1929 to 1948, with said buyers including its subsidiary, the Manistee and Northeastern, Dow Chemical Company, Lakey Foundry and Machine Company, and the Ludington and Northern Railroad. Most kept their original road numbers, but number 474 is presumed to have been renumbered by the Manistee and Northeastern. The Pere Marquette's remaining 060s stayed in service until their withdrawal began in 1934 and concluding in 1947, with some of the sold-off engines lasting until the end of the 1940s. Not a single Pere Marquette 060 made it into service with the Chesapeake in Ohio, nor were any of them, including the sold-off engines, saved from being scrapped. While the Pere Marquette's 060s had a basic history with no survivors nor something special about them, they still did their job to displace the Pere Marquette's inherited road engines in switching work and held the torch of it until it was ready to be passed to the 080s, and they still made a small place of remembrance for themselves in the history book of the Pere Marquette Railway, the railway that gave us 1225, the real Polar Express. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to my channel and activate notifications so that you'll be notified the moment a new video goes up. I'm Andrew Raila, and stay tuned for the next episode, in which I will discuss the Pere Marquette's 080s. Thanks for watching.